This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Clorox Toilet Wand, it's all in one. Clorox Toilet Wand, it's all in one.
Hey, what does all in one mean?
The caddy, the wand, the preloaded pad. There's a cleaner in there, inside the pad.
So Clorox Toilet Wand is all I need to clean a toilet?
You don't need a bottle of solution to get into this toilet revolution. Clorox, clean feels good.
Use as directed.
Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. December is here, and with it, the last month of the year. So much happened during the last few days in the post-Thanksgiving period that I shall now try to cover some of those things as best I can, because, let me tell you, it will make for a fascinating listen. So let's begin with Ukraine. Even as the Trump administration trumpets peace talks, there is bombardment in Kiev and in Ukraine. The tragedy is that these are more intense bombardments than we have ever seen. It is the greatest war in Europe, frankly, since the Second World War. We have never seen such wanton destruction. Who is causing the destruction? The cause of the crisis, Russia. And make no mistake, even as Steve Witkoff and others head to Moscow to meet with Vladimir Putin, the question becomes, what can the direct result be? Putin is demanding things that Ukraine cannot give, including territory still occupied by Ukraine that Russia wants. There is no doubt about the fact that Russia is the aggressor, and there is no doubt that as the aggressor, Russia should not be rewarded. And indeed, if you want the bottom line is that Russia should go back where it came from. They should vacate Crimea. They should cease bombardment of Ukraine. They should pay reparations for all the damage that they have done. But you and I know that that is not going to be the outcome. So the question becomes a very simple one. Will appeasement prevail? Will, in order to bring about a so-called peaceful settlement, will Ukraine have to accommodate the demands of Russia and of Putin? It is going to be an interesting few hours to watch what happens as the president's envoys arrive in Moscow. It'll be interesting to see how they're received, and yes, indeed, what Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin say in response to what the President of the United States is suggesting. I don't know what the result will be. Vladimir Putin has his agenda. No doubt President Zelensky has his own problems with corruption in his government, with major changes, and with a failing system. And when I say a failing system, I mean his ability to respond. There is now a real question. Will the world compel Ukraine to surrender? Will appeasement prevail? And that, my friends, that is the question of the hour. While we are speaking, the bombardment continues. While we are speaking, the talks begin. As we are speaking, great effort is being made somehow to ameliorate the crisis. The Europeans are equally concerned as the Ukrainians and the Americans. And the real threat remains Vladimir Putin. How do you get around it? I don't know. But I will suggest to you something very strongly. Appeasement is not the answer. If Putin gets what he wants, well, this crisis will resurface again and again. So we wait. We wait patiently. And we hope against hope, that there will be some resolution which will spare the Ukrainians the agony that they are going through, which will allow Vladimir Putin to end this war. And, well, that's all we can hope. Now let's talk for a minute about a meeting that will take place at the White House tonight. It has to do with the Secretary of Defense. Please note, I am saying Secretary of Defense, not Secretary of War. He is the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. The question becomes, did he, Pete Hegseth, order a return of American military in order to kill survivors on a boat that the United States had already destroyed? And Hegseth strenuously denies it. Donald Trump says he's inclined to believe Hegseth. But now you have members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, clamoring for an answer. Did the Secretary of Defense commit a war crime? Did he order the shooting of injured people on a boat in order to kill them? Did he, Pete Hegseth, give the order? And what does it mean if he did? That's what the Nazis did. Yes, that's right. At the height of the war, the Germans killed people in the water, and that was considered a war crime. Is what Pete Hegseth may have ordered, let's emphasize that, innocent until proven guilty, the benefit of the doubt. But if Pete Hegseth ordered this attack, is that a war crime? The answer most assuredly is yes. If it is proven that he did order it, should he be removed as Secretary of Defense? The answer most assuredly is yes. And so we wait. We wait to see the outcome of a meeting at the White House tonight. No doubt, this will be a critical moment because it has to do with Venezuela. It has to do with whether or not we are going to proceed to attack Venezuela. Leading experts say the buildup that we have done is so vast that it seems inevitable that somehow there will be an attack on Venezuela. And if there is, how will Congress react? How will the world react? How will we, the citizens of this great country, react? My friends, this is a critical moment in terms of the exercise of presidential power. Can the president proceed without authorization by Congress? And the answer is yes. The War Powers Act does not, and I want to underline this, does not prohibit a president from acting. And what that means to all of us is that there will almost certainly be some military action. And let me explain that this military action, initiated by the White House and implemented by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, that's really a great question. Will Congress proceed to exercise an investigation? Will Democrats and Republicans join together to just say no? And so we wait. It is fascinating, and I remember, and many of you will remember, We've had previous secretaries of defense accused of war crimes. Secretary of Defense Bob McNamara immediately comes to mind. But there is a difference. And the difference, of course, is that the actions ordered, if in fact they are true, were ordered directly by Pete Hegseth. So this will be a fascinating time again tonight at the White House. Of course, one could say any investigation by the White House is slightly biased, and the president is most assuredly going to try to stand by Pete Hegseth. But what will the facts show? And what will Democrats and Republicans in Congress, major committee chairs, what will they say? That's the question. And there is another serious question which we must pose this morning. It is a question about collective punishment. We now know that the shooter who killed one and injured severely another National Guardsman while on patrol, that incident resulted in the President of the United States issuing executive orders unilaterally dealing with immigration. He is cutting off countries, 19 countries, from being allowed to submit requests for asylum. He is insisting that everyone who came into this country during the Biden administration must be reevaluated. Let us remember that the final permission for this shooter, this killer, came during the Trump administration. And now, what is the Trump administration saying? They're saying that the radicalization, this is Kristi Noem, who is the Secretary of Homeland Security, she is saying that this shooter was radicalized after he came to the United States. That is something to think about, because it means that the President of the United States is now suggesting collective punishment against all those who have come into this country as immigrants, who worked with us in Afghanistan, and perhaps beyond. There is no doubt that we have a debt which must be paid to those who stood by us. We did it for South Vietnamese after the collapse in 1975 of the South Vietnamese government. If you served in the South Vietnamese army, if you worked with America, you were granted asylum in this country. I alluded to the fact that if you go to Southern California, you will find, particularly in Orange County, many Vietnamese who were given asylum and who are good citizens of this country. Should all of those who came to this country, who helped and supported the United States in Afghanistan, now suffer recrimination, not from the Taliban, but from the United States of America? That's the question. And I believe the president is wrong in this effort. Most of those who have come from Afghanistan are good citizens, and they earned the right to become citizens of this country. They defended us. Are we going to defend them? And I mean that very seriously. This is a moment when all of us must consider with great care what the President of the United States is doing unilaterally. And I have to tell you, that's what bothers me. These kinds of decisions should not be made unilaterally by the president. These kinds of decisions, well, there is precedent, and the Supreme Court, I hope, will act on that precedent. The Palmer raids in 1919, when A. Mitchell Palmer, the Attorney General of the United States, rounded up and deported those he considered to be anti-American, communists, Russians, oh yes, Jews. Let me tell you, the Supreme Court stepped in and ruled those actions unconstitutional. Ultimately, this too will come to the Supreme Court. Will the precedent set in 1919, 1920, the overruling by the court of actions by an Attorney General of the United States, and indeed by the administration of a President of the United States, be deemed unconstitutional? That's what we're waiting on. Somebody asked me on a weekend, isn't it slow? The news, my friends, is never slow. And the topics we have chosen today, from the question of Ukraine, to the question of collective punishment, to the question of Pete Hegseth, all of these issues resonate for all of us. And so we at Around the Political World with John Rothman, we're going to keep talking about these things. We're going to keep raising these issues. And we are going to keep all of us, I hope, aware and on our toes, because all of these things are being done in the name of us, the citizens of the United States. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I'd be delighted to hear your thoughts on today's episode. You can write me a review on Apple Podcasts, drop a comment on YouTube or Spotify, and click any of the links to the show notes to connect with me on social media. Remember to share the episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. Let me also remind you that this show has been getting so much positive attention that we're excited to bring on advertising support. This will help create more opportunities for Around the Political World with John Rothman, and we're happy to share some of this good news with you. I also want to say a special thank you to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast. She does an exemplary job each and every day. Gogo, thank you. And to all of you, I'll be back tomorrow with more, right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.